Check this out. Hello, hello, hello. This is what it looked like before. This is what it looks like after. Hey guys, so today I've got an Instagram hacks video for you, and I wanted to do an Instagram hacks that's a little bit different because I feel like people just show you the gentle editing, you know, they just made the photo a little bit brighter, a little bit more saturated, but people are not showing you how they snatch your waist, snatch your face in, you know, smooth it all out, make it like extra glowy and stuff like that. And sometimes you do see photos and you're like, how does your photo look like that? Why is it that when I try to do it, I'm not able to do it? And I feel like you just kind of need to know exactly how and what people are using, because people are genuinely using iPhones, but they are also using other cameras and other bits of software. So today I want to show you how to really get that Instagram glow, waist snatched, and that, you know, amazing look going on. And I'm sure lots of people, I think this can be slightly controversial because people don't necessarily want to fess up to like editing photos, but lots of us definitely do it, and it's all about doing it in subtlety and kind of enhancing what you might already have, or sometimes what the camera takes away. Because sometimes I'm like, I take a photo of myself, I look 10 times better than that in real life, so why is the camera not picking it up? So that's usually the case that I do it. So the first thing I want to show you are the tools that I use, and I use my iPhone and I use my Sony a5100. These are basically all I use to take photos. I also have a Samsung phone that I also use here and there as well for photos, but these are the main things I do for my photos on Instagram. Now I will say that there's pros and cons to each. So number one, this picks up really high quality, it's got a skin smoothing effect on it, and I think it just gives you that kind of glamorous glow, and it's really detailed. But I genuinely feel like this camera distorts your face, like it makes your face look a little bit, you know, wider, a little bit I don't know, a bit more fisheye, so it comes out in the middle more because this is a wider lens, whereas I feel like the iPhone camera is way more true to life to what your face actually looks like. And say for instance, I don't have to change the shape of my face when I use my iPhone, but when I use this I have to kind of put my face back to normal because it kind of looks a bit alienish in my opinion. And I have noticed that people say you look a bit different, and it's only when I use this camera that it looks different. And I do use the front camera for selfies. It's not that good, but on the 6S it's excellent. Let's firstly talk about editing apps and how they work. There are basically about 3 apps that I use for any one photo, and I wouldn't say I do this all the time, and I wouldn't say that if you're an everyday girl that you need to do this, but if you want to be fly and if you want to be like really, I don't know, if you want to make it a bit more than just you know, a dry Instagram feed, then I think you do have to make some more effort into it. So I use about 3 different apps, and the apps that I use are number 1, Facetune, number 2 I use Afterlight, and number 3 I use VSO Cam. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this image here. This image was taken on my iPhone in front of a window. I don't usually use lights when it comes to taking it, but lots of people do, and I basically have a few simple steps that I always do when it comes to editing in selfie. So the first step I always do, it's got these steps here. The first thing I always do is I whiten, and I always whiten my background. I don't know why, but I think it just makes everything in the image pop, and all you do is basically press whiten, and that's it. And already you'll notice that when you whiten the background, it makes everything else pop out. And it's okay if you go over black, it doesn't seem to change the color black, but it can change the color of other things. So that's what it looked like before, that's what it looked like after. And then the next step I do is I smooth my skin, and this is probably just to, I don't know, get rid of any blemishes, but it kind of gives you that kind of Instagram halo, and mostly everyone does this. I think you just need to do it in moderation. And as well, I've got like dimples, but if the dimple's not showing, it kind of just looks weird, so I just smooth it out unless it's like a proper dimple. And I usually just do my forehead, around my cheek area, my fake dimple that didn't quite dimple up properly, definitely under my eyes, because sometimes this is where you get some creasing, and on the tip of my nose as well. But I kind of like to leave the tip because there's a nice highlight on it, and if you smooth it you get rid of the highlight. So this is the before That's what it looks like. That's the difference. The next thing I like to do, which makes your eyes pop, is I actually whiten the whites of my eyes. Again, it depends on what light I'm in. Sometimes it needs it, sometimes it doesn't. But just simply just doing a little bit of white, it makes the white of my makeup pop more. And it makes my pupils pop more as well. So let's look at the difference. And I've kind of done an extreme version so that you guys can really see what it looks like. But that's the before and the after of the eye whitening. I'm not gonna lie, it's very subtle. And then I will go ahead and use the tool here called Details. And then what I do is I would carefully swipe on top of my lips, because if you do too much, it can look a bit crazy, and I think that looks a bit much. So I'm just gonna go Details and just touch it, and it kind of makes your lipstick pop. Do it on the brows, get those brows popping. Do it on the eyes, get those eyes popping. The difference is very subtle because you can't see it, but it does make a difference here. And I could do it a bit more extreme so you can see, but there you go. That's what that looks like. So the one thing I do is sometimes I do reshape, and usually I do it on the Sony camera because this camera basically distorts your face, but on the iPhone camera not so much. But what I do, I always like to basically make my neck look longer and bring my shoulders down. I don't know why, I think it looks more attractive, but you simply just do that, and you can also bring your chin and everything in a bit more. So that's the difference between shoulders up and shoulders down. Now this lighting is very light because I took it in front of a window. So what I like to do is then save that down. When I've done everything that makes the image look, you know, beautiful, quote unquote beautiful, I will then add all the color and everything. So I go ahead and open this up in Afterlight as well. And for me, what it is that this image is far too like bright and needs to be kind of made a bit darker and added a bit more color. So what I do is I would drop down the brightness to make it a little bit more rich, a bit more true to my skin tone, and then I will increase my contrast as well, and that makes stuff pop. And that's basically it in this. So you can see this is what it looked like before, that's what it looks like after. Before, after. When I'm done with that, I save that to my camera roll, and then I edit it for the third and final time in VSO Cam, and I would then add a filter that I like, that I feel represents my Instagram feed. So there's so many different filters that you can use, and I really like the ones like this that are desaturated. This is a really popular colourful one. This is like, it's got soft hue over it, that's kind of green one, but I usually go for A4 or A5, and then what you can do is you can dictate how much of it basically does it. So yeah. So when it comes to taking photos of here, the first thing is I will pick the photo from my camera, and then I transfer that via Wi-Fi to my iPhone. And then once it's in my iPhone, I go through the same steps that I would normally go through. So when I get onto my iPhone, the tool I use is Play Memo, and so I can view all the images that I've transferred from my phone, from there to here. So let's go ahead and edit this photo. If anything, do you know what, there isn't really very much that I'd change. So I would do the thing I normally do, which is to whiten the background, whiten everything. Maybe I'd whiten my top as well because it kind of looks like an off-white, but this really doesn't need that much editing, if I be completely honest with you. And then I will smooth. What you can see is that my pores are more visible, so I can smooth this, but again, I don't like overdoing it because you kind of end up losing some of the nice shine. And also you might see that I've got some creasing here as well, so I can smooth that a touch. So that's the before, the after. And I will whiten my eyes, so you can see that, you can kind of see, you know, my eyes are not that white there. It makes your eyes just pop out as well. Look at that. Isn't the eye a beautiful thing? Then I can go ahead, I might just smooth a touch just because I'm used to smoothing, and there we go. And I would still always add back detail. So I want my lips to pop, and I want my brows and my eyelashes to pop. Pop in. Can you see a slight difference? Yeah, there's a difference, you can see that. You can also add more contour. So I'm just gonna do, I wouldn't normally do this on this photo, but I wanna show you how you can pick a tone. So I can see my darker color here and I can pick this colour and I can just brush a touch more contour on like that. Exactly the same way I would do it with makeup, just adding a little bit more of a darker colour. That's a little bit extreme, I'm not even gonna lie. So you can just basically erase it as well. That's pretty. Now I've said if I am going to change the shape, I always bring my shoulders down and make my neck look longer. And I never use a reshape because that looks kind of crazy. But if you use refine, that looks a lot different. So right here, my shoulders seem a little high, and this is before and this is after. And I think this is the one step that lots of you can do. But if you look, you can actually see that it has kind of distorted the top I was wearing. So I can erase that if I want to by using the patch tool, but do you know what? I don't really care. It's not that deep. Don't you love it? So this is the photo now, and this is it. This was it before, but I'm going to change the color because I think this looks a bit too yellow. I'm not going to change it in Afterlight. I'm going to just change it in VSOCAM. So I'm going to show you what I would do. I would basically change the temperature, and I'd make it less yellow, which means I'm making it colder. You can go blue, or you can go orange. So I'd make it like just 2 steps cooler. I would add more contrast. Contrast basically makes your darker bits darker and your lighter bits lighter. And then I could also saturate a little bit. That's a little bit much, but yeah. And then I can go ahead and add one of these filters if I wanted to. Again, A5 is literally like my favorite, but I might drop it down and make it like that. That's 2 photos edited. You can see the quality of the Sony camera versus the iPhone front camera. And now I'm going to finally show you how you can edit the body. And this is the secret that lots of people don't want to show. So yes, I'm sure lots of you think probably nothing needs to be done to this, but I'm about to show you what a lot of people do, which is basically snatch the waist, make things look a little bit more tight, a little bit more refined, which is okay, but totally unnecessary lots of the time. And I'm going to just focus on my waist area, and I'm solely going to use the reshape tool again, refine. And what you have to do is you have to come in really close to avoid looking crazy. And I'm just going to basically snatch my waist in a touch, just a touch. That was quite extreme, that, but I can do that without distorting anything else. You really have to be careful, because if your background's not plain, you can actually end up looking crazy and distorting loads of things. And then this side, my arm's really close, so the reality is that you can't, I don't want to change too much because my arm's going to go weird. But what I can do is just bring in some of the stripes, and then that looks like from that to that. And then this is my kind of side hip dent place. Can bring that dent out, which is a dent I've always had. I don't mind it. There, it looks like I've got an athletic body when I really don't. Check this out. Hello, hello, hello. So it's so interesting to see. I know loads of people do this. I don't personally normally edit this, but I wanted to kind of show you what can be done. I think this looks a little bit ridiculous. People can narrow their thighs if they wanted to. So sometimes you see those thighs. I don't actually know how you do a thigh gap because the thighs are both going to change, but you can see how it might be possible. Normal to Instagram. And then another thing you can do, I personally prefer to play with shade and light because it's much more natural. You can smooth down the legs, and then where I've got shadow, I can pick the shadow by just picking it. And what if you wanted to look, say, slimmer, you can just use shadow. It's similar to contouring and it looks a little bit more toned. Again, you want to avoid looking dirty, if that makes any sense. So Instagram versus real life. Again, I have been very subtle with the activities. There are totally people who take this completely and utterly overboard, and you probably want to decide if that's something you want to do. I think you can do the same with boobs. I think you can. I don't really ever do that, but like, look, check out those boobs, boobs. They've got a bit crazy. Hold on, what am I doing? What am I doing? Yeah, I don't know how you do the boobs. I don't know if you do that. Let's see if you could. Yeah, you can make the boobs slightly bigger. Oh yeah, you can. Look at those. Check them out. And then obviously, I think another way would be to, again, the shading. Let's shade those. No, they look dirty. They look like dirty boobs. Right, okay, I'm not really a boob shaping expert. For those of you who just like to take beautiful landscapes as well, I'd say that Afterlight and VSOCAM are all you need. I took this photo at a really gorgeous location, and I knew that there was ways to just make this look, you know, a little bit more fleek. And then this is where I basically clarify. Clarifying basically kind of brings more light to the center and adds more contrast. I'm going to clarify. I am going to brighten a touch. I'm going to add more contrast, and I'm going to saturate. The before, the after, the before, the after. And it's simple playing with light. Then with the VSO cam, I will go ahead and use the colors that I feel match my theme and my vibe. So you guys know I love A5 and I love A6 because it desaturates, but I can use C1, make it look bright, and F2 and make it look cool, which I think that looks really nice. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. So guys, those are some of my Instagram hacks that I hope you find useful. Again, don't overdo it. Let's not go crazy, but genuinely, sometimes you might be looking at some Instagrams and some people and thinking, how do they look so perfect? And you're, you know, going crazy about yourself looking awful and not realizing that there's probably a lot of face tune, reshaping, colorizing, contour and lighting going on. So if you want to look just as good in pictures as they do, then you just probably need to implement some of these tools. But remember, Instagram and real life are two different things, okay? So guys, thanks for watching, and I will catch you later. Anything else you want me to do, please let me know and I'll get that done for you. You know, it's nice to have some big old pillows. In the same breath, you know, you don't let anyone touch them because you're like, no babe, no, away from the boob.